Good morning, moms in real estate. I hope everyone's having a great Monday because me and Randy are, because we have an amazing girl on our morning show today, Amanda Walker. Welcome.
Hey,
Thank you.
Amanda.
Hello, good morning. I'm excited to be with you all.
Oh, I just noticed that your name says the best damn coach. That's smart. Like that.
It's
So
on our Instagram handle too. I saw that.
yeah, I feel like I need to up my game because my name is Kristen Cantrell. How boring is that?
You definitely need a little title in there too.
Yeah, I do. Okay, I'm gonna work on that. Well, we're excited to bring Amanda to you guys. You guys, I met her at a networking event that one of my girlfriends runs a community out on the west side, and we met. And she mentioned that she helps women build frameworks in their business. And I loved talking to you because I think this is something that a lot of moms in real estate don't even think about in their business. So I want you to just kind of help us understand what that means and then just get us into the conversation.
Yeah, of course. First, just again, thank you for having me. I loved meeting you and your energy, and it's always great to like find immediate synergy with people. But yeah, most people call me the framework building ninja because I have a way of taking ideas and content that seem very overwhelming or congested, and then taking it and creating kind of a methodology or step-by-step process out of it. And so it really doesn't matter if you're a coach, which tends to be the majority of people I work with, or you're a real estate agent, or I always use the example of a baker because in one of my speaking events, we had a baker and I used like how like actually recipes are a form of a framework essentially, right? And so the reason frameworks are so powerful is they cultivate results. And to put it in context for real estate is you have a framework from the moment somebody says, I want you to list my house to the moment it closes. Really, in order to cultivate a really amazing client journey, a client experience for both you and the client, a framework is the key to that process. And so I like to think of like frameworks are a proprietary methodology. And at the end of the day, whether you're a coach or an agent, how you create frameworks is going to set you apart from other people doing what you are doing in your niche. And I think at the end of the day, we all want to stand out because that means more clients, more profit, and the rest follows.
Yeah,
That's so
I
good.
love that. And I feel like Randy, you probably love this because you're very like, systems driven. And I feel like this is like everything around systems. So what do you find like when you speak and you're speaking to different female entrepreneurs, like what's the biggest like hesitation that women have when it comes to building out their framework?
I think the greatest piece getting to this is a lot of people think like, but I'm not special. I'm not unique, right?
Mhm.
I am just like any other agent going through this process, or I'm like any other coach going through. But the reality is, for many of us, what we're doing now isn't what we did 20 years ago. It's maybe not even what you did 5 years ago. And so you have a really robust skill set that comes before this moment. And I feel like a lot of people negate that. I'll use myself as an example. Like I've been coaching since I was 15. My first job ever was or my first job was as a 15-year-old was a coach, and I was coaching basketball at the time. And then, fast forward, I ended up being a high school teacher for 10 years, got a degree in curriculum building and coaching. And so I am a genius when it comes to mapping out curriculum and reverse engineering content. And when I first got into coaching in a more formal sense in my own business, I was kind of like, man, I just wasted freaking 6 years of education. This is nothing like what I'm doing. And then I had this moment of like, oh, but all of this was leading to now. And when I doubled down on that, then that's where, to be frank, my confidence grew, but also the money came along with it. And I think agents are no different. Like you might have been in interior design before, you might have been doing hair before, you might have been a stay-at-home mom before. All of those have a unique skill set and learnings that can lend themselves to doubling down on your strengths as an agent and multiplying your business from a standpoint of your strengths rather than from the lack.
Yeah, what a great thing to point out is just like there are a lot of women in our industry that are coming from being a stay-at-home mom into building a business, and it can be so many things because we have a very flashy industry where it's like, oh my gosh, look at all these amazing women and these businesses that they're building. And I'm sitting here trying to raise, a 1 year old and a 3 year old, and it's a complete shit show on the back end. And so I feel like their confidence is like so not there, but you just put it as no, that's actually like part of your value is looking at like your past and what you've done. So I think that that's really great.
Well, also, Kristen, sorry, Amanda, I just want to put this note out there, but the consistency, right? So sometimes, and this is where I think the framework becomes so powerful. So sometimes, you know, depending on our life, depending on how our kids are, whether it's sports season or not, like we can really bring our A game, and then we really do that client experience you're talking about. We do a killer job, but because we haven't built a framework around it, we do a killer job for one client, and then we lack consistency in our business, and that lack of client experience consistency actually leads to gaps in income, right?
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I love that. And I think too, to add to that is, I mean, I've never known entrepreneurship, not with children. You know, my kids were 4 and 6 when I started my business, and I didn't intend to go this direction. But I think a really huge skill set if you're a mom out there and balancing, because I've known what it's like to work out of the home full time, work in the home full time like I do now, work out of the home part time, I've like every iteration of momming I've done. But the skill set too, even in coming from being a stay-at-home mom to now, is the ability to time manage and multitask is like you just get really freaking good at it. And I do think that can distract you. I don't want to say like multitask all the time, but I always feel like that has given me the ability to manage kind of a plate that's a bit more full than others. And so I just think it's really important to reframe that for sure.
Yeah. I would love to hear you. I feel like this always helps me in my business if I can hear you like the baker, right? So like you helped a person that owned a bakery develop their framework. Can we hear that? Because I feel like when I hear it from another industry, it always helps me bring it into my business versus like, and then we can go into like a real estate agent's example.
Yeah, for sure. So in another community, actually, one of the girlfriend that we met through, I had the opportunity to speak about frameworks, and one of the girls in the group is a baker. And I remember as I was crafting my talk, I was like, "How is Bailey? Her name's Bailey. Shout out to Bailey, even though she's not going to hear this. But
Bailey
how
the
is
baker.
Bailey the baker gonna take my teaching on framework and really like take it home for her?" And I think the first place is that finding what I would say that sweet spot. So if you were to think about like big picture, big circle, the biggest circle on the outside, Bailey is a baker. But something you should know about Bailey is that she's a gluten-free baker.
Mm.
So Bailey has over time had, you know, a child in her home that had to shift to gluten-free. And so that transformed her home kitchen, which transformed her business. Well, something you should know about me, why I love Bailey the baker, is because I've had to be 13 years gluten-free, right? So there's synergy for me. But what you also should know about Bailey is that her desserts, her gluten-free desserts, specifically this thing she calls a monster cookie, are like the best thing I've ever had as a gluten-free person. Right. So if we go big picture is first big circle is she's a baker. If we go smaller and more niche, she's a gluten-free baker. Even more niche is the fact that she's a gluten-free, she specializes in gluten-free desserts.
Mm.
And so the reason I bring this up is because step one of the framework is before we even build a process, step one is determining like what is what I call it the purple duck. Like what makes you a purple duck in your industry that's different from everybody else? Like in a sea of yellow ducks, what makes you unique and special? And so for Bailey, it's that she is a gluten-free dessert master. So for me, I'm like, if I have an event coming or it's a holiday and I need gluten-free desserts, like I don't even look anywhere else. I go to Bailey the baker. Does that make sense so far?
I love
Yeah.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
So why don't we take Randy? Why don't we use your business as an example? So she's a real estate agent. Why don't you kind of go into Randy more of like your niche and home
Yeah, so
sales?
I help families escape the suburbs. And then
Okay, cool.
that goes into family compounds, micro farms, acreage properties, legacy properties,
I love this
the
so much.
properties for preservation. Yeah, so that's kind of where that goes.
Yeah. So, like, if we look at your circles, your big circle would be like real estate agent. Your middle circle would be like real estate agent for families. And then if we did tiny, then we would say like, I forget how you called it. I'm going to go compounds, micro family,
Mhm.
dreamland, something like
Right.
that. And so now that is your niche. So then Randi becomes the girl you go to when you are looking to buy like loads of property and build multi-family residencies, together. And now you don't go anywhere else, because Randi becomes the purple duck for that specific element. And I also think it's easy because that is kind of special, I would say, Randi, don't you think? I mean, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I'm also, yeah, 100%. It makes, I think for the consumer, would you agree that it like makes it digestible and memorable, right? Like I find sometimes like I'll see something and I'm like, I connect instantly because it's so clear and simple. When it's too broad, there's no point, there's no connection point.
Agreed, which is the whole point, right? Of what I see, because I'm mostly coaching coaches for the most part, but my corporate clients, as I was sharing with Kristen, which is so crazy that I end up in your guys' world, is I also am brought on by a lot of real estate agencies because I coach their agents because they're great at selling homes, but they're not great at coaching other people to actually sell homes. So they're great at selling, but not great at coaching. And so I get to work and I get to be in the real estate world so often, so much. And in the mortgage world and escrow, that's also where many of my corporate contracts are. But one of the thing I notice in both of our worlds is that if we're speaking too general to what we do, then you're just like whitewashed, right? You're just like you blend in with everyone else. And so if you're a life coach, for instance, like it's a very broad term when it comes to coaching. And so what does that mean specifically? So that's where many coaches and agents, I think you guys would agree, end up not being profitable, or they go into what I call the failure to launch mode, where they never really get feet off the ground because they have a story in their mind that they are not specialty enough. They're never going to be seen. They're never going to be noticed. And so that's where we have to ask, a little bit more deeper questions. But like, what do like? What kind of homes do I really love selling? Because it can be for you guys the type of home, it could be the price point of the home, it could be the type of loan that you like. There's a lot of ways, I think, in your world to possibly get into a super specific circle.
Amanda, I think this is so good. So while I've dialed in on my client avatar and like my niche and all of that as a coach, I will be 100% transparent because I've been in the coaching and mentoring side as a broker, since early on in my career. But even the last 10 years, like I owned a coaching company, and I felt like one of the biggest issues was we were coaching to all of the things. And it was like all of a sudden when you're coaching or you're trying to serve, whether you're an agent or a coach, and you're trying to do it to all of the things, then I found that we were just layering on. And now we have a disproportionate amount of value going out, and it's actually perceived as less valuable because it can't be consumed. They have no idea what they're actually signing up for. There's so much of it. So now they devalue it. Have you seen that before, Amanda?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And when we shoot, for serving all of the people, then what the other piece that comes up as you say that is your content lacks specificity enough to serve the person you really want to serve. And it's very subtle language. Like if we think about you, and I don't know if you were mentoring agents specifically, but I'm just going to use that as an example. So if you're a coach for agents, you can be big circle coach for agents. You could be middle circle coach for female agents. But even the subtlest thing changes if you decide, no, I'm going to coach specifically agents that are moving from being stay at home moms to selling 12 to 24 or to having 12 to 24 transactions in a year.
Yeah.
Right. That's a massive change to how I talk to that person because now we're able to go like, okay, that's one home a month. Right. That feels bite sized, but it's very different if you're trying to attract an agent that's has already, you're going to coach differently, I would presume. If you already have an agent under your belt that's already selling in the, 12 to 24 range and is trying to get 3 to 4 transactions and now has a micro team underneath them, the things and the strategies and the things that we need to talk about are very different.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. When it took like 5 years, if I would have known you, Amanda, it would have taken like 5 minutes. But it took me like 5 years of watching bubble to the top, right? Who became my person and realizing, and like what also fulfilled me. And then I realized, for me, it's Christian agents, right? It's agents that want a faith-based faith-based relation.
I love that. Yeah.
And so that bubbled to the top, but it took years. So what I love about you and what you do is like your shortcut. And that's what I tell agents all the time. Like the biggest hack to success is getting in the right rooms and talking to the right people early on, because if you can literally dial this in your career, you can attract to it. And then, you know, the fear in our industry is if I'm speaking to this audience, I'm going to alienate that. And I have found in my career, it's polar opposite. It's polar opposite.
Me too.
The people for the suburbs still call me, and I'm so thankful and honored to serve them. But I never speak to the people in the suburbs because that's just not my niche. You know, it's not my framework.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah, totally. I agree with you. And I think the interesting part, and there's something unique though. I will have to shout out like real estate professionals, mortgage professionals, working with them, there is this like thirst for professional development that exists. That doesn't exist in what I see, just like the personal development, or I would say those people moving into an entrepreneurial space. It's like a little bit more, we got to show them the value of investing. And I'm sure you guys have learned this, that at first I was afraid to invest. You know, my first ever investment with a coach was $500 a month. And that felt eons away from where I was bringing in income to justify it. And, you know, now I've probably spent in the realm of $300,000 on masterminds and coaches, and, you know, like the payback is next level. But the realization is that the scarcity isn't money, the scarcity is time. And to your point, you called it wasting time. I don't think there's such thing as wasting time, but it took you 10 years to fast track into the specialty that is serving you most. And when you get around people that are just in it, like I am in it with hundreds of coaches a month where we're having the same conversation, so I see it really quickly. And so when somebody can bypass that for you, or you work with somebody like you guys, then there's just so much time save.
Yeah. Amen to that. Oh my gosh.
I love that so much.
Well, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, why don't you tell them your Instagram handle? I think that I have it pulled up, but you probably know it
Yeah.
quicker than I do.
Yeah, I do. The best place to reach out if you just want to continue any conversation, you have thoughts or anything like that, my handle is A Walk My Way. You can just search Amanda Walker. And yeah, I'm just happy to support anybody who wants to chat.
And
Yeah.
Amanda, would you do me, I'm so sorry, Kristen, would you just do me a favor, or would you recap just kind of like what it is, like the top two things that you do for agents, so that they have a good idea of like, if they're struggling and they're like, I think Amanda's my girl, but I'm not 100% sure. I want them to be like, yes, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Well, I mean, formally, I host a program called the Framework Builder Lab. So that's a great place to come in and help exactly what we just did right now. It's like get clear on the specific problem or niche that you're existing inside of the real estate world. And the second piece, my passion is really helping you um, be better at creating results for your clients. And we do host a podcast called The Best Damn Coach. So although it doesn't totally translate to agents specifically, I think there's elements of just the mindset and running a business that 100% translate, no matter if you're selling homes or selling coaching services. So those would be two great places to connect or to think about.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
I love listening to podcasts outside of the real estate industry. I feel like they are very helpful. So definitely we'll have to give you a listen.
Sorry, I'm getting excited here, but I also think, Kristen, too, Amanda, you said something powerful, which is like there is a thirst in our industry, but I think sometimes we don't diversify what we're actually consuming. And then I think that the repetition that we're exposed to leads to like the imposter syndrome and the why and the how, because then everybody's doing it the same. So I love the idea that you're not just speaking to real estate agents, because then it's like you're expanding and going from that micro to macro concept and being able to incorporate other things in your business.
Yeah, well, thank you. I agree with you. And I think that's why I've landed in this kind of weird place of all the corporate work inside of real estate, because I do bring in kind of the online marketing world, which I think that some agents do, but a lot of it's like boots on the ground, go to the networking event, like all those kind of classic real estate things, go to your whatever it is. And I love those things, but I think there's just also other things to leverage. And one of our great friends owns a company and their slogan is innovate or die. And I really believe that in a lot, especially as we're transitioning into 2025, is you got to think out of the box, right? Like if everybody's doing the thing, like how do you zig while everybody else is zagging? And that's where like great, amazing breakthroughs happen.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Amanda. You kicked off. We do live stream this into our group. Although if you want to catch the replay, you can check our YouTube channel. Make sure you're also on our email list. But the comments are like, just I totally feel this. I'm literally listening to this while scrubbing the bathroom, and
Oh,
so
I love it.
thanks so much with so many of the moms and women in our audience.
Oh, I love that so much. So glad it resonates.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll go ahead and wrap. If you want to get a hold of Amanda, you have her Instagram handle. So we'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.